Good evening, Jacinta Tynan with ABC News. A diplomatic standoff is continuing over the fate of 438 asylum seekers stranded off Christmas Island, both Australia and Indonesia refusing to take them in. Australia has started a humanitarian mission airlifting food and medical supplies to the island. But Prime Minister John Howard says there is no obligation under international law for the group to be granted entry.
What to do with the 438 foreigners rescued by the Norwegian container ship the Tampa, anchored outside Australian territorial waters off Christmas Island and barred from entering?
Under our interpretation of the international law applicable, it is appropriate that they be returned to Indonesia.
The ambassador was called in, but isn't accepting Australia's reading of the law. While diplomats talk with Indonesia and Norway, life on board the Tampa gets tougher.
The male survivors on board the ship are on a hunger strike, but the food situation will become critical very quickly.
But help is at hand. Australia is making good its promise to give humanitarian aid, dispatching a frigate with relief supplies and flying plane loads of troops to Christmas Island. Legal experts agree Australia's responsibilities are unclear, but warn the incident could deter commercial ships from rescuing those in distress.
If Australian government are turning their back on refugees and vessels in distress, then the rest of the industry is going to follow suit.
It's certainly a message to the world that we are not a country of easy destination.
The Immigration Minister has told coalition colleagues another 870 boat people are on the water and 2,000 more not far behind. Greg Jennett, ABC News, Canberra.
Western diplomats have visited 8 foreign aid workers in Afghanistan, including 2 Australians, arrested on suspicion of preaching Christianity. Diplomats are continuing to pressure the Taliban for their release.
A week after being forced to leave the Afghan capital without seeing the 8 foreign detainees, diplomats were welcomed back and taken straight to the detention centre where the arrested aid workers are being held. After about 2 hours with them, the Australian, German and American consuls emerged with good news.
They've confirmed that they've been well treated, that they've been able to get dietary supplements as they wish.
After being determined to ban any visits, the Taliban have become suddenly relaxed, more than 3 weeks after arresting the aid workers on suspicion of preaching Christianity. Till now, the families have had no direct information.
Only what's in the newspapers.
Encouraged by their meeting with the detainees, diplomats are hoping to find out what happens next.
I'm sure that we will enter into further talks with the Taliban administration and we can find a solution for this case.
After weeks of waiting and confusion, this visit comes as a relief to the detainees, their relatives and the diplomats. But the Taliban's ultimate intentions are still no clearer. Jonathan Harley, ABC News, Islamabad.
The United States says it has lost an unmanned surveillance aircraft over southern Iraq, but has not confirmed Iraqi claims the plane was shot down. Iraqi television showed wreckage of an aircraft on the ground near Basra, about 500 kilometres south of the capital, Baghdad. An Iraqi military spokesman said the reconnaissance plane was brought down by anti-aircraft fire. The United States has confirmed the loss of an unarmed Predator aircraft, but says it contained no sensitive technology or information. Scientists at Griffith University in Queensland have identified 2 genes that cause the most common type of breast cancer. Genomic researchers are searching for the genes that increase the chances of developing breast cancer, as the predisposition lies in women's DNA. And at the Queensland Institute of Medical Research, the hunt is on for the genes that cause endometriosis, a disease responsible for about 40% of female infertility. The team is joining up with scientists at Oxford University in Britain, hoping to isolate the endometriosis gene within the next 3 years. 2 business surveys out today paint very different pictures of business confidence in Australia. A PricewaterhouseCoopers report shows retail confidence at a 4-year low. The GST, the main reason cited for the poor trading environment, along with the weak Australian dollar, the Olympics and interest rate movements. But a broader survey suggests sentiment is rapidly improving in small and medium enterprise. Confidence between May and July hit its highest point in nearly 2 years. Well, the first Goodwill Games to be held outside the Northern Hemisphere opened in Brisbane tonight, with a gala ceremony being broadcast around the world. There was no flame, just a handful of invited athletes, and the man who started it all, media tycoon Ted Turner, toasting his 6th Goodwill Games. Over the next 12 days, athletes will compete for $10 million in prize money. Ian Thorpe will go head-to-head with Dutch rival Peter van den Hoogenband and Aussie teammate Grant Hackett. And US sprinter Marion Jones is hoping to regain her place as the world's top female sprinter after finishing second in this month's World Championships. It may well be the last Goodwill Games. Parent company AOL Time Warner will make an announcement on the event's future after Brisbane. And Pat Rafter is through to the second round of the US Tennis Open after a straight sets victory over American Bob Bryan. But the two-time US Open winner says the competition is getting tougher. Rachel McQuillan is also through, while Nicole Pratt was beaten by Monica Seles. And now the national weather details. Windy with showers in Sydney, showers also in Canberra and Perth, but clearing from Adelaide and Hobart. Becoming fine in Melbourne and fine in Brisbane and Darwin. And that is the news to now. Stay with us for Lateline at 10:25. From me, good night.